Hey guys, how you going? Ryan King here from Three Kings Wealth Management. Hopefully you've heard of me because if you're receiving this, you're either a client, you're in the process of becoming a client, or you've engaged us from our email marketing previously. Today's video is just a really important one about what we're doing over the next 3 months here at Three Kings and why, what it entails, and what it means for you, as well as how to be a part of it or what you need to do. So to kick it off, a lot of you may have seen in the news recently about a certain young fella who tragically lost his life. That young fella was a very, very good friend of mine for the last 10 years and happened to be a client. So this tragedy happens to be the first client that I've lost. I've lost clients before, but first client I've lost that is a very good friend of mine, and happens to be the first client that Three Kings has lost. So it's been a very difficult time for us, and something new to embark on. Now, silver linings out of this, Az was one of the best blokes I've ever met. He was very small in stature, but his heart was huge. And he was on the ball. If I could paint an ideal client, it was Az. We planned everything. He planned everything for his family for the future, and he lived every day as if it was his last, and to make sure that he lived the most fulfilling life possible. And yeah, it's a shame that something like that happened to someone who had so much ahead of them and was doing everything, all the right things. If you don't know Az, this is the man here himself. This is how I remember him. This is him all suited up. Little legend of a bloke. Now, so what is it? Why am I talking about this? Well, I want to let you know what's happening in the business, but also this has inspired us working with Jessica, who is Az's fiance and still our client. We wanted to leave a legacy for Az, and he would have too. And so what we've done is it's really reinvigorated the importance to myself and the business about, the fundamentals and making sure that they're in place first and foremost before trying to do sexy stuff. So we're launching a project over 3 months, so 90 days, called the V Project. And beautiful. And the V Project is all about V for Vidal, and secondly, V being the Roman numerals for the number 5. So there's 5 fundamentals to your advice that you need to make sure, and the project is going to focus on over the next 90 days. We're going to get as many of our existing clients, our clients, people that are trying to become a client, and any newcomers, that we're just going to focus on those 5 things, okay, for the next 3 months. We are not going to talk about sexy stuff because from what we've, a lot of people are in here talking about that stuff without having the fundamentals ready. And we've decided as a business that this process has been hard enough as it is with someone who had all of that sorted. And I couldn't bring myself, if that was to happen to someone that I was dealing with that didn't have that sorted, I couldn't do it. I simply couldn't deal with it. A lot of my clients here, as in this intimate business we have become friends, and I just simply couldn't deal with it if you didn't have these things sorted. And I couldn't imagine how hard it would be on your family, seeing how hard it is for someone who had this all sorted. So we're turning off all our advice for the next 3 months around investments, sexy stuff that isn't important if you don't have the other stuff in line. So for my existing clients, we're going to book in and we're going to do a review and make sure all of this is up to date. Now, the 5 things, what they include, so first and foremost, your budgeting and cash flow. That's the number 1 fundamental, not only so that you benefit from it now, but so if something happens to you, we have a lodged, a catalog of where your expenses are. So if something happens to you, your family knows what fees what bills they need to look after, where it's coming from, and what they need to maybe switch off or transfer. That's step 1. Number 2 is your legacy. A lot of people don't talk about their legacy till the end, and with dealing with this, it's a really important thing. So I want to start talking about people's legacy and what that means and what you want, why, etc. And we're going to go through that as part of the advice. Step number 3 is arguably the important part, the insurances. Life, TPD, income protection, trauma, car, home, all those insurances. We're going to go through and discuss all of that stuff and make sure they're up to date. Make sure they're up to date, they're in place, and they're in line with what you need to happen. Number 4, superannuation retirement plan. So make sure that that's looked after, so that if something else does happen, at least that period is looked after. And if something does happen to you and you're not here, your family can transition that across to themselves. So that's the other part, as well as beneficiary nominations, making sure that they're up to date so that if something happens, it goes to the right people. And then fifth, and again, arguably the most important piece, is estate planning. So doing a family tree, knowing who the important people in your life are, what you want in a scenario that something does happen, who do you want appointed where? Who's going to look after your affairs, etc. Doing a will, power of attorney, power of guardianship, and during power of attorney and testamentary trust, etc., etc. And I'll refer you to our solicitor if you don't have a preferred one already, to make sure they're getting done. Now, I've let a lot of you slip by too often for too long, saying you get them done without getting done. We're now non-negotiating. We need to get this stuff done ASAP. Okay, so we're gonna pitch that if you're a client or to become a client. If you're in the process of becoming a client, we are going to strip out any investment advice, which we will discuss with you. Unless it's pertinent, we're going to strip out and we're going to focus on this stuff first and foremost, because we want to get this through nice and fast. Now, what I'm saying here, and for the people who have registered or who are approaching, we're gonna invite you to come on this journey and become you've probably toyed with being a client for a while or anything like that. This is what we're doing for the next 3 months, and we're going to welcome you in on that. Now, after this is done, after we get this, and moving forward, Three Kings is actually going to start every bit of advice with these 5 fundamentals. That's what the project is about. So the other side of the project from the client-facing piece is the business side. And on the business side, we've actually employed someone to re-ramp the whole business up to ensure that this is how we operate moving forward, where we only do the 5 things. We charge for those 5 things. Once those 5 fundamentals are in place, then we start the ongoing membership, and on the ongoing membership is where we start doing the sexy stuff, the investing, purchasing a home, or debt reduction, debt investment strategies, etc., etc. But from what's happened, this whole project that we're doing, the V project, is we're launching, focusing on the 5 fundamentals before you try and do everything else. So the outcomes and guidelines of this. So the outcomes are that we want the business, as part of Az's legacy in his honor, we want the business to be in a position at the end of these 3 months where this is the non-negotiable. You come on board, you do these 5 things, okay? Or you try to do these 5 things. And then we can do the sexy stuff after that. The guidelines behind it are basically that you can't become a client anymore until you do those 5 things first and foremost. So what do we do from here? All right, so clients, people becoming clients, and those on the email. So you're going to get this email. In this email, there is going to be some steps on what's going to occur. And if they don't occur, they're going to be followed up by a phone call. So expect that in this email. So first and foremost is this video. Then what we're going to do is we're going to book everyone in. So we're going to send out some forms. We need some updated information from those who haven't got. A lot of you have, but some of you we haven't seen in the last 6 or so months. We're going to need some updated information. From there, we're going to transfer straight through, right? From gathering that information, doing our research based on our conversation, and making a recommendation on where your shortfalls are, what we need, get you to sign off on it, and then we're going to go straight into implementing that advice. Once we implement that advice, on the back of that, we're going to give you a summary pack on where everything is, what you hold, how much it is, where it is, boom, in like a little presentation summary. You're going to hold that advice, and then we're going to start going on to the ongoing membership, where we do a kickoff meeting. We start tracking via KPIs what your future needs to look like. So at your next meeting, what your savings balance needs to be, what your super needs to be at, what your investment portfolio from there, okay? So focus next 3 months is fundamentals, getting everyone sorted. So if something happens next 3 months, you're all sorted, okay? No one wants to think about it, and we all think we're bulletproof. But if you're still going to sit in here and think you're bulletproof, I dare you to go and ask my 28-year-old client go ask his family how they feel about that. Because if there was anyone more deserving of living a long life, it was Az, right? So I'm very passionate about this. I need to get this through. We need to make this happen. I don't think I can go through this with someone who doesn't have this sorted. And it's my job in life, in Aaron's honor, to make sure that we get as many people sorted in the same way he was at a minimum. And then we can go from there. So it'd be good to speak to you all soon. Please keep an eye out for the next steps, and please take action. Let's take action so that this doesn't happen to you guys. I look forward to seeing you. Give me a call, reach out if you need anything else.